Welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with your host, Rosalind Sedaka. Join Rosalind each week on a journey toward overcoming life's many challenges to achieve peace, empowerment, and positive transformation. It's time to relax, unwind, and transform your life with Rosalind Sedaka.
Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sedaka, divorce and parenting coach and founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network and also dating and relationship coach. And I want to welcome you to the Going Solo Network on WGSN-DB, along with my co-host, Amy Sherman. Hi, Amy.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you and to be here again.
And Amy, as you may remember, is also a dating and relationship coach and a licensed mental health counselor who does therapy on relationship issues and family issues. So we are here with a guest today who we're so excited about because her message is so important, especially for the times we live in. Her name is Sarena Morello, and I want to welcome you, Sarena.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're very glad to have you because Sarena is an expert. She's a licensed mental health counselor, but she is a specialist in coping with stress issues and sleep issues. And there's few of us who haven't had challenges in that arena. And as I said before, especially in difficult times, we encounter stress, we encounter sleep problems, and it can affect every facet of our lives. So, Sarena, let's start by having you introduce yourself and giving us a little background about who you are and how you came to be what you're doing.
Well, I came to this field of healthcare, which is basically called mind-body medicine or mind-body relaxation training, through a process of starting out with yoga and wanting to bring yoga to medicine. And the essence of all of that was teaching my clients or my patients, depending upon which setting I was in, how to create a relaxation response in their bodies as an antidote to the stress response. So I basically help stressed out people easily alleviate conditions such as insomnia and anxiety in a very short amount of time.
Boy, that's fabulous. And I know today we're going to focus on the importance of sleep in stressful times. So let's start by asking the obvious. Why is sleep so important for us, especially when we're encountering stressful situations?
Sleep is a restorative state that brings us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually into balance. And there is nothing more important in our lives than being in balance. When we're out of balance, either with too much energy or too little energy, and the lack of sleep can cause either condition, interestingly enough, we don't respond in as healthy a way as is humanly possible.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, Sarena, I know personally for me when I fall asleep and I wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes I have trouble falling asleep or getting back to sleep. Can you talk about what kind of remedies or situations I could put myself into that would help me fall back to sleep? Yes. Well, actually, the program that I created and have facilitated for the past 30-plus years is called Sleep Easy. Fall asleep, stay asleep easy. Sometimes the difficulty is not in falling asleep, but in getting back to sleep once we've dozed off. And what begins to happen in that kind of a situation is that we wake up and perhaps we have an alarm clock in the room, a lighted alarm clock, and we always look over to see what time it is. And that is the worst thing that we can do because it automatically starts a conversation in our head. Either it's too early or it's too late. It's either too early and we have a whole night ahead of us and we're afraid that we won't catch up with life, or it's too close to waking up so it doesn't make sense to go back to sleep. One of those scenarios can be very disturbing in the middle of the night. But no matter what, just looking at the clock alone sets up a conversation. Once a conversation is set up in our head, and especially if we check the time on a cell phone or a computer in the middle of the night, then we've triggered off a very eventful evening with tossing and turning. Yeah, I could totally relate to that. That's exactly what happens to me. And I find that I definitely have to quiet my mind somehow. Do you have any specific techniques to help people do that?
Oh, yes, that's the basis of the program. And the strength of the program is in the diaphragmatic breath. The way that I teach the breath, though, is a bit unique. It's based on a diaphragmatic breath which comes out of yoga, but the results of it are measured with biofeedback. And in biofeedback, we get feedback about how our bodies are working or how our biology is working, and it lets us know whether or not the system, our nervous system, is at a high level or at a low level. So it's very easy to learn, as a matter of fact, and it doesn't take a very long time. Sometimes only 2 sessions clinically is necessary in order to use the breath to get into a state of relaxation. It's called the relaxation response by Dr. Herbert Benson, who's a board-certified cardiologist that wrote the relaxation response back in 1975. I actually call it a state of relaxed alertness. And what that means is, especially in the daytime, that we're totally relaxed even though we're totally alert. At nighttime, it's actually easy to shut down that energy, and with a couple of breaths and eliciting a relaxation response, we can enter that state that is beyond talking and beyond conversation and just quiet. So the breath is the essence of it, but with my patients, I take the breath and I deepen it to the point where I've introduced autogenics, which is a technique that was developed back in the 30s in Europe, and it's the best technique that I found over the years to help an individual easily get into a relaxation response. I love it so much that I've actually created a record label called Shakti Music, produced a CD called Gateway to Inner Peace for Deep Relaxation and Self-Healing that is the essence of training in the autogenic field of medicine. And I'm very fortunate. I'm the only therapist in the country of USA to be gifted with the protocol of a famous medical clinic called the Menningham Medical Clinic, using their protocol for introducing autogenics to my patients. And it's only 20 minutes long by design. It's not meant to be a very lengthy situation, and it's meant to be the essence of creating that state that was researched for the most conducive sleep possible, and in only 20 minutes. So I do the vocal on it, and a physician who also happens to be a psychiatrist has created the music because he's also a musician. And over the years, all of my clients have loved the music. It's not a memorable song. We can't sing it during the day, but at night it takes one into the state of relaxation called relaxed alertness. But at night it's taking us into a deep state of quiet.
So it's very important that all of our listeners get an idea of how they might be able to find that CD if they're interested in getting the kind of help that you're offering in such a simple format and in such a short 20-minute time period. So how can people find that?
Well, actually, I created the CD to be able to stand on its own. So it's been for sale in Barnes & Noble, for instance. And right now it's available on my website where it can be downloaded. And I believe it's also available on iTunes.
And your website?
www.foreverstressfree.com.
Foreverstressfree.com. That's a great name.
Let me explain what that means. People say, well, what do you mean forever stress-free? Once an individual, as human beings, we're all on automatic pilot with a stress response. It came about way back when we were facing tigers in the woods, and we had to be able to respond immediately. So the body is on automatic pilot with that kind of an energy. And you can feel that kind of an energy when you're exposed to a stressor, or let's say you're on the highway and you have an almost near accident and you feel your body tighten and your throat locks and your heart races and you can almost feel your blood pressure going up and your stomach kind of curdles a little bit, and you're automatically in a stress response instantaneously. You don't have to do anything to create it. It's there and it's available. And the reason that it's available instantaneously for us is in the old days when we were fighting tigers in the woods, we needed that kind of energy to defend ourselves and to defend our families. So nowadays, in the year 2016, we don't need that kind of energy for purposes of going to sleep, for instance. We need to be able to relax and unload, and the advent of all the technology that we're surrounding ourselves with causes us to be constantly on. We very rarely turn off unless we're meditators and we've trained ourselves to sit quietly for 20 minutes twice a day and go to that quiet place. Well, the CD that I created, Gateway to Inner Peace, gives an individual the opportunity in only 21 days to master creating a relaxation response in the human body throughout the nervous system. It only takes that 20 minutes of practice, and once it's practiced for 21 days, then an individual can be able to create the same state in only 60 seconds. So there's a training program. It's almost like learning to ride a bicycle when you use the training wheels, and you have to get used to riding the bike, and once you're used to riding the bike, you can drop the training wheels. Well, once you've listened to the CD and practiced with the autogenics, as I say, for 21 days, then it's no longer necessary to continue listening to the CD, although I have to tell you that most people like it, and they like to continue listening to it. So, like for myself, for instance, I have a boombox under the bed, and if I'm getting into bed at night and I've had a very stressful, challenging day, I just lean over and I push play, and it takes me into that sleeping state. By the way, it's not hypnotic and it's not subliminal. Everything that you hear and is just as it is. There's nothing underneath. There's nothing subliminal on this CD.
Need to take a break, Roz?
I think we do. Thank you for reminding me. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. This is WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Rosalind Sadaka with the Going Solo Network, WGSN-DB. You are listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sadaka and Amy Sherman. And we have a guest today, Sarena Morello, who's talking about the importance of sleep and how we can handle stressful situations in our life. Sarena, this has been very enlightening for all of us to know that there are ways of training ourselves, training our minds, so that we are not a victim of the circumstances that can be very trying in our lives. And all of us are coping with family issues, work issues, relationship issues, health issues, environmental issues. There are so many stressors that we live with, especially in the 21st century. So there's no one who is devoid of the anxiety related to stress. What we need to do is find coping skills and techniques and strategies. And what you're offering, Sarena, is something that makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like originally it was in format that has evolved to a CD and is now evolved into something that can be downloaded as well. So one can access it in whatever manner makes the most sense. Is that correct?
That's correct. And it's not just the autogenics that creates the autogenics and the breathing are kind of the foundation of the program. And then there's a third component that's absolutely essential, and that's cognitive behavioral therapy. And cognitive behavioral therapy, which is what I'm trained in, is, if you break it down, cognitive are the cognitions, or the thoughts that we think. And it's now been proven by many medical research papers, it's been published, that cognitive behavioral therapy is even more effective than sleeping pills. And it's becoming the therapy of choice when people are complaining of insomnia. So what it addresses is the thoughts that we think and learning how to reframe those thoughts that support the activities we're engaged in or support the activities that we would like to be engaged in without the negativity. The negativity and the contrary thinking does a lot to take us in the wrong direction, and learning how to reframe our thoughts. For instance, let me give you a concrete example. Getting into, after you've had 2 or 3 nights of sleepless nights, or getting up in the middle of the night and not being able to go to sleep, and you get into bed at the 4th night perhaps, and your thinking process may go along the line of, oh my goodness, I didn't sleep for the past 3 nights, I probably won't sleep again tonight. Well, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So a good thing to learn is what's called affirmations. And affirmations are positive statements in the present tense that speak directly to the subconscious mind, such as getting into bed at night and repeating to yourself, I, in my case, Sarena, sleep easily and peacefully through this night. Now, there could be a little voice inside your head that says, well, that's not really true. I didn't do it last night or the night before. And that's what cognitive behavioral therapy does. It helps us to create the positive statements, and it helps us to make them our own, so to speak. So cognitive behavioral therapy, not only the things that we say to ourselves, but the things that we speak, and especially the pictures that we make inside our mind's eye that support those statements. So we learn how to reframe through pictures and statements our very thoughts and thinking about the situation.
Sarena, I have a quick question for you. As a therapist, I know that some people are resistant to these kinds of things just because they've never experienced it before. How do you counter that? Is there a way to get people to be a little more amenable to this kind of therapy so that they're not resistant and they don't, for example, like some people cannot be hypnotized, and I know this is not hypnosis, but they're resistant, they can't follow the program. Do you find that you have people who are resistant to this kind of program, and how do you break through that?
Yes, well, it's easy to make a call to me. I'm very amenable to that, and I'm very available. My business phone number is 561-482-2345, and ask for a packet of materials. And I have copies made of the research reports that have recently been published in the past 2 years that definitively state the value of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, over and above sleeping pills like Ambien, for instance, or Restoril, or others that people are prescribed, especially Xanax, which is not a good medication to be taking, and psychiatrists have stopped prescribing it so much, especially for sleep. So when the medical profession is telling its patients that this is not the best protocol, that really hits home with most people. And most people don't realize that the sleeping medication is only supposed to be taken for a short amount of time in a crisis. And they get on, let's say, Ambien and stay on it for months and months, and sometimes even for years, which is not the way it was even intended to be utilized.
Wow.
So the research
well, I totally agree. It's very important that we don't become dependent on a drug to handle the situations in our life that are inevitable, and it's so much more empowering and healthier to know that you have the skills within yourself to handle crises, to handle difficult times, and be able to move through them without challenging your health and creating more disease within your body. So this is wonderful news. This is wonderful to find out that it isn't so difficult to do, and it's something that is doable for all of us. So we are very
in a short
grateful.
amount of time.
Yes,
really
and in a short amount of time, it really is a breath of fresh air. So before we have to go, I want, Sarena, for you to remind us again of your website address and the phone number for people to reach you at.
Yes, the website is www.foreverstressfree.com. And as I said before, the reason it's forever is once an individual invests that time and energy, only a couple of sessions, to learn the relaxation response and how to create it voluntarily at will whenever you're ready for it, whenever you want it, then you no longer have to keep on repeating the training. Once you've learned it, it's yours in your physiology, in your body, forever. So that's the reason for the title of the website, Forever Stress Free. And the business phone number is 561-482-2345. And you can leave me your name and number, and I'll be sure that you get any material that you need that helps you to understand what I've been talking about a little bit better, and that shows you the preference of the medical profession at this time in this field, and that could be very helpful to you.
Well, you've been very helpful to us, and we certainly appreciate it. We are so grateful for your sharing all this wonderful information with us. Amy, why don't you remind us your website, how people can find you?
My website is yourbabyboomersnetwork.com. Also, womendatingafter40.com. And I could be reached also at amybethsherman@gmail.com.
Wonderful. And this is Rosalind Sadaka. I can be reached at Rosalind Wright, WRITES, @gmail.com. My website is childcentereddivorce.com, as well as womendatingafter40.com. That's 40. So we are signing off for this week with WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. You've been listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sadaka and Amy Sherman. And we look forward to talking to you again next time with a new guest and some wonderful, inspiring new thoughts for you to take back with you and empower your life with. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.